This is where the Nazis got the heavy water they needed for their nuclear program. In 1943, Norwegian saboteurs climbed down into this valley in winter, broke into the Vemork power plant, and destroyed the production. But there's much more to see here than just the sabotage site. This area was actually one of Norway's first tourist destinations. In 1811, a geologist told the king he had found the world's tallest waterfall here. He was wrong, but tourists came anyway. Jules Verne visited in 1861 and later wrote a novel about it. Today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized for its industrial heritage, how hydropower was used to produce fertilizer and change the world. In this video, we'll show you everything worth visiting in the Rjukan-Notodden area and give you the practical tips you need to plan your trip. Rjukan is about 2.5 hours from Oslo by car. You can drive directly via the E134, or take a detour through Notodden to see Heddal Stave Church on the way. We spent 1.5 days here, but we knew all the places from before. If you're new to the area, plan at least 2 days. Unlike many famous sites in Norway, this area is not yet overrun by tourists. Many Norwegians come here for holidays, but you won't find the cruise ship crowds, as the nearest cruise port is far away. We'll start with Rjukan, which is what most people come for, then cover the route to Notodden. Rjukan lies in a narrow valley between the mountains. The town didn't really exist before Norsk Hydro built their factories here in the 1900s. What you see today, the workers' housing, the town center, it was all built for the factory workers. That's part of why it's a UNESCO site. It's not just about the buildings, but the whole system. The power plants, the transport, the workers' town. One thing you'll notice, Rjukan doesn't get any direct sunlight between September and March. The mountains block it completely. In 2013, they installed 3 large mirrors on the mountainside to reflect sunlight down to the town square. It works best in winter, but even in summer you can see them operating at reduced power. The main attraction is Vemork, about 6 kilometers west of Rjukan. This was once the world's largest hydroelectric power plant when it opened in 1911. The old power station closed in 1971. A new one was built inside the mountain behind it, which is still operating today. The old building now houses the Norwegian Industrial Workers Museum. You'll learn about the industrial history, the workers' lives, and of course the heavy water sabotage. You can see also the old turbines and generator, which were constructed in Switzerland. The highlight is the Heavy Water Cellar, and the story of how they found it is quite remarkable. The hydrogen factory, where the heavy water was produced, was demolished in 1977. The cellar was sealed underneath and left to rot. For decades, nobody knew what was down there. Then, in 2016, they started excavating. In October 2017, they broke through and found the cellar completely intact. Time had stood still for 40 years. The room where the sabotage happened was still there, just as it was. They built a new museum facility above it, and it opened to the public in 2022. Standing in that room, knowing what took place there, it's quite something. Plan at least 2 hours for Vemork. Tickets are a bit cheaper if you buy online. To get there, you park at the bridge and walk across the suspension bridge to the power station, and then up the hill. There's also a bungee jump from the bridge, 84 meters, one of Norway's highest, and is very popular. On our first visit in 2010, you would still drive over the bridge and then up to the museum. If you've seen Netflix's Troll 2, you'll recognize Vemork. Both the power station and the pipe corridor appear in the film as a secret facility. There's also the Saboteurs Trail if you want to hike the route the saboteurs took. It's about 8 kilometers, and there are guided tours in summer. Just past Vemork, you'll find Rjukanfossen. This 104-meter waterfall is the reason the town is called Rjukan. It means smoking, from all the mist the waterfall produced. Unfortunately, you probably won't see any water. It's almost all diverted to the power station now. The only time they deliberately release it is during Marispillet, an outdoor theater performance at Krokan, in mid-July each year. It's based on a local legend, and they release the waterfall for the performance. Check the dates if you want to see it. It can also flow on its own after heavy rain, but that only happens a couple of times a year, and there's no way to predict it. If you're not here during Marispillet, you can still walk up to the viewpoint and imagine what Jules Verne saw when he called it one of the most spectacular waterfalls in Europe. You might read about Krossobanen, the cable car that takes you up the mountainside. It was built for the same reason as the sun mirrors, so the workers could get above the valley and see the sun during the dark winter months. Unfortunately, it closed in June 2024 and won't reopen before 2027 or 2028 at the earliest, so don't plan your trip around it. Rjukanbanen was built by Norsk Hydro in 1909 to transport the fertilizer. It's part of the UNESCO heritage. On certain days, you can actually ride the historic train from Rjukan station to Male. It's a 16-kilometer journey through the valley, and it feels like traveling back in time. Check their website for the schedule. At Male, you'll find the old railway ferries. SF Ammonia from 1929 is the world's only surviving steam railway ferry. And MF Storgut is one of only 2 vessels in the world on UNESCO's World Heritage List. The Storgut sails on the lake on special occasions. Tinnsjøen is the long, deep lake that was part of the transport route. The fertilizer went by train to Mel, then by ferry across the lake, then by train again to Notodden and the port. The lake is also where the SF Hydro was sunk in February 1944. After the sabotage at Vemork, the Germans tried to ship the remaining heavy water out. The Norwegian resistance sank the ferry. It's still at the bottom, 460 meters down. There's a memorial at the site. An expedition in 2005 retrieved 1 barrel, and it was confirmed that it was really heavy water and not just a decoy. From this area, you can also visit Gaustatoppen, one of Norway's most famous mountains. At 1,883 meters, it's the highest peak in Telemark, and on a clear day, you can see 1/6 of Norway from the summit. There are 2 ways up. You can hike from Stavsro, which takes about 2 to 2.5 hours. Or you can take the Gaustatoppen, a funicular built inside the mountain during the Cold War. It was originally a secret NATO installation. We have a separate video about Gaustatoppen, so check that out for all the details. There's also a ski resort in the area if you're visiting in winter. Now you have 2 options to reach Notodden. The main road is faster, but if the weather is good, take the mountain road via Tuddal. It passes right at the base of Gaustatoppen, with hairpin turns down the other side. It's a beautiful drive. Be aware that this road is closed in winter, usually from November to April. Arriving in the Notodden area, the main attraction is Heddal Stave Church. This is Norway's largest stave church, 20 meters long and 26 meters tall. The church was built around the year 1200, possibly using some wood from an even older church on the same site. After the Reformation, it fell into serious disrepair. By the mid-1800s, it was in such bad shape that they did a major restoration. The problem was, nobody really understood how stave churches were built. The architect transformed the interior into fashionable empire style, completely wrong for a medieval church. He added windows, modernized everything. It was heavily criticized at the time, and worse, it caused moisture and fungal damage. A century later, in the 1950s, they undid most of those changes and tried to restore it to look medieval again. Then, in 2008, they discovered original wall paintings that had been painted over in the 17th century. So what you see today is actually a 1950s reconstruction of what they thought a medieval church should look like. It's a fascinating story of how preservation efforts can go wrong before they go right. The church is still in use. There are services, baptisms, confirmations, and weddings here during summer. When we visited, there was a baptism going on. Be aware it may be closed on weekends for ceremonies. In winter, the congregation uses the Lovakirken, a barn converted into a church in 1993. The Stave Church has no heating, and temperature changes are bad for 800-year-old wood. You can visit the inside from May to September. Next to the church is Heddal Stave, an open-air museum with old farm buildings. Plan 30 minutes to an hour here, depending on your interest. Notodden itself is where the industrial adventure started. Sam Eide founded Norsk Hydro here in 1905 before building the factories at Rjukan. You can visit the World Heritage Center and Telemark Art Museum, Hydroparken, where the first production started, Tinnsjøen with its cultural heritage site, and Tinnsjøen waterfall. If you found this useful, give it a like and subscribe for more videos about Norway.